Hey guys, welcome back to yet some more Reddit stories about entitled people, insane people, and everything in between. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get into today's stories. My neighbor called the cops because we decided to clean our apartment. So my boyfriend and I moved into an apartment in August. It's older, so the floors are super creaky. According to our lease, we're obligated to cover 90% of any room with carpet, except bathroom and kitchen, to help with noise. It turned out our apartment was previously managed as a dorm by the local college, so the floors already have a layer of super thin, crappy carpet. We also laid down more rugs to help with noise cancellation. Our downstairs neighbor moves in about a month later, and within a month of that, starts banging on her ceiling when we get too rowdy. The first couple times it happens super late in the living room. Our apartments have the same plan. We were moving around after midnight the first time. Later, she came to talk to us and asked us to keep it down at night. Sure, fair enough. The next time was when we walked in from the airport at 10 p.m. She came up, banged on the door, and talked over my explanation. I told her I was sorry and asked when she was hearing the noise, assuming it was the cat running around at night. No, she tells me that she knows it's not the cat, she knows it's us, and she doesn't live alone. Okay, weird, but whatever. We started going to bed earlier as we settled into the apartment and our jobs, but the banging only continued. For months, she would hit her ceiling/our floor whenever we walked around. Bed at 10? Bang. Wake up at 5:30 for work? Bang. Sitting on the couch but you decide you want snacks? Bang. Around Christmas, she comes up to our door again. My boyfriend answered, and this time I recorded, and I'm so glad I did. This woman came up and looked my boyfriend in the eye and said, "You have to stop following me." What? I know it's not the cat or the dog or your girlfriend because I know your footsteps. I don't know how you figured it out, but you figured out how to listen to where I am, and you're following me around my apartment and I'm sick of it. My boyfriend calmly responded that she sounds crazy and that we don't care about her. She again reminded us that she doesn't live alone. Her boyfriend is a small Latino man in his 60s who is very polite and has never said a word to us. Cool, she's insane, whatever. The banging continued, with us stomping every time we heard it. She didn't like that, but it made it more fun. We'd already explained the situation to the landlord and the super, and they were on our side. Our town was the first in the US to be locked down under quarantine, so for the first few days the banging gradually increased, until one day this woman lost her mind. I'll admit that we're early risers on the weekends. On this particular Sunday, we ended up waking up super early, but not doing much for the first few hours. We drank some coffee and sat on the couch until almost 11. At that point, we decided to get up and clean the apartment. Homegirl went apeshit. She had to be running from one end of her apartment to the other. She's banging on her ceiling so hard that we're convinced she's damaging it. At one point, I hear what sounded like muffled yelling after she followed me into the bedroom. We had plans that day, so we ignored her, finished cleaning, and started to leave. She must have been waiting for us to leave, because for the first time ever, she walked out of her apartment right as we go to her landing. I was holding my dog while waiting for my boyfriend to come down as she starts to descend the stairs. Of course, she decides to turn around and say something. "Tell your boyfriend to cut it out," she said. Cut what out? Walking? You're hitting the ceiling because of me and the dog moving, not him. She continues to spew some other dumb stuff as my boyfriend gets down to me. She proceeded to stay exactly 3 steps ahead of him, slowing us all the way down the stairs. She tried to block us going out the door at the bottom, but backed off when he just didn't stop moving. She's continuing to yell at him all the way out to the parking lot. Of myself and my boyfriend, he's typically the hothead while I'm the calm one. Amazingly, he kept his calm the whole time, calling her only a crazy lady and ignoring her as he walked past her and her car to the dumpster. As I passed her car, she decided to continue talking at me, and I was just pissed not to engage. "I'm serious, it's done," she said. "Okay, what do you want us to do, crawl? I already told you we have a 60-pound dog and we're all just walking around." She's talking while I talked, so I don't hear everything. "And you need to remember that I don't live alone," she said. "Okay, neither do I. You see my boyfriend right there, so what's your point? By the way, that's the 3rd or 4th time you've said that, and that could be taken as a threat." "You think it's a threat? Fine, it is." "Cool, I'm calling the cops," I said. "Okay, me too," she said. We both call the cops and they pull up. They talk to her first and then come talk to us. I don't know what she told them, but when they came to talk to us, I told them everything she'd said and done for the past 6 months. The officer explained that it was a civil matter that would have to be dealt with by the landlord, but assured us that they explained to her that it is perfectly acceptable to walk around your apartment at 11 a.m. on a Sunday. They also told her not to knock on our door ever again, and that she's not allowed to bang on our floor over footsteps at any point. For a couple nights, she got back at us by banging at 1:30 a.m. to wake us up. We had already reached out to our landlord again, and this time he told us he'd see what her problem is. That's still not the last of his troubles with her, though. We ended up talking to the people that live below her and telling them about the banging. It turns out they've heard it this whole time and had no idea what it was. Now that they know, they've also reported her to the landlord. The banging has stopped. We don't expect her lease to be renewed, and we may end up in a better apartment in the next couple months. Karen arrested and towed at my work thinks it's because we wouldn't accept her check or cash. I work in the office area of a warehouse. We never have customers and clients in the office. Everything is handled in email and phone calls. We have a closed parking lot with PIN codes, employee parking only signs, etc. We were just finishing lunch when this random lady walked in. She stands there expectantly huffing. I'm thinking it's somebody's mother or older relative and they'd invited her to lunch, which is still unusual. They wouldn't have them come to the office. We usually ask for people to meet us outside the gate. But before I could even get off my call to ask, she yells, "Is anybody going to help me?" I told her, "1 moment, I'll be right with you." I asked how I can help, and she starts launching into a complaint about her payment. I stop her and ask, "How did you get in here?" And she's like, "Is that how you help customers?" So I explain, we don't accept customer and client visitors in the building. I'll need to have you escorted out and you can call or email. She starts having a fit, pulling things out of her purse, yelling about how she's done business with us for years, which I doubt because she'd know these things, and I have a coworker call for security. She pulls out a check, yelling about how she's mailed it to us repeatedly and we just keep sending it back. I explained to her we have a check option available on the website. You will have to use that. She calls me a smartass and says she doesn't want to use her card. She throws down a wad of bills at me on the table and says, "Just go downstairs and get XYZ item." I told her, well, we don't manufacture and ship every item on our website downstairs. We only do a few. The rest are other companies and they ship directly. I can't help you with that. She's getting really agitated and mouthy when security comes. He escorts her out of the building and out to the sidewalk. She never once tells us her car is parked inside the lot. She just complains to him and me the entire time that this is the worst customer service she's ever had, etc. When I get back and start working, I get a call from the police that there's a woman outside complaining she can't get back inside to get her vehicle. She followed another car inside the gate and now can't get in without the PIN. So I trek back down outside. She's out there with an officer chewing his ear off about how we treated her. I explained to her that this is employee parking only. Her car doesn't belong in here and that I'll allow her to get it this time, but next time it will be towed away. Then she tells the officer everything she went through inside. I don't know, expecting him to moderate her disagreement? Maybe she expected him to force me to do what she wants? He ends up telling her, "Ma'am, you can get your car and leave." She gets really upset, calling him names now too, and stomped off to her car, yelling at security for following her. I briefly explained to the officer what she came in for, and that we don't allow for public visitors for safety reasons, the warehouse, etc. We don't sell direct and don't process orders here. She needs to call or email. She pulls out of the parking lot and parks at the sidewalk, where it's clearly marked red and there is no parking anytime. She gets out of her car and tries to continue her rant. The officers are being way too nice to her while she's screaming at them and demanding they arrest me for refusing her service. They're trying to reason with her. I gave up. I'm just here silently to make sure she isn't trying to get back in the fence. She refuses to leave until the officers call in about her vehicle being parked in a red zone. Even then, she's not just getting in her car and leaving. She's arguing, crying, asking why everybody is acting crazy and treating her so badly. All she wanted to do was pay for something, and what's wrong with the world today? The officer starts actively trying to escort her to the driver's side door, And I don't know what happened, suddenly she's on the ground getting detained. The officer said she tried to smack him and spat at him. I was talking when it happened, focused on the other officer, trying to explain we didn't want to press trespassing charges yet. She's been warned and we're hoping that's all there is. Let her go home and cool down. She was propped against her car, being cuffed and patted down, etc., screaming for help, and quote, "Call the police." And the guy was like, "We are the police, ma'am." She was taken away and her car towed. Just days after, she's calling, screaming at me. Without realizing exactly who she's talking to, she just asked for a manager, saying that, "You guys need to pay me for my tow. I was parked outside, not even in the gate, and you towed me and had me arrested." And I knew exactly who it was. I played it cool though. I mentioned that our private contracted tow company hasn't been called out for months. Anything on the street is handled by the city. You have to contact them about it. But she's insistent it's our fault. We have to pay. So I said, "We'll take a look, but you need to forward the police report and responding officers' names, and we'll investigate it further." When that didn't work how she expected, she left a long complaint in our email, written like a public complaint. I don't know, maybe she thought it was a field where she could leave reviews. She said, "I'll never suggest anyone buys from these people and I'll never do business here again. They have you arrested and towed, while just politely trying to make an order. My lawyers have been contacted. You can't have people arrested just for being in the public and asking to make an order. I was manhandled by officers and bruised just for trying to get a simple explanation why they wouldn't take my money and help me. They refused my check in cash. This is what our country is like now, arrested for using legal tenders." I didn't respond this time. Well guys, that's going to be it for today's stories. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans. So take care everyone, and I'll see you next time.